So I'll make you the host again, and please make me a co-host, okay?
Okay, and also I had stopped the recording until, got settled. So
Ah, okay, I can resume that for you once the session starts, okay?
yeah, definitely. Okay.
There you go. You're the host now, and please make me a co-host so that we both of us are ready when they come in.
Okie doke there.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need me to do something or anything, just call my attention, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just be moderating the chat the whole time.
Sure. And will you let me know when someone is there, or how will that work?
Well, basically, what we usually do is to we monitor the chat, and if there are questions that are missed,
Mm-hmm.
basically we call your attention to answer those questions.
Okay.
And I'll be sending you the attendance after the class.
Mm-hmm. Okie doke. How do they decide when to live stream?
I'm not pretty sure about that because
Okay.
they don't give us the details about that.
Okay.
All we can do is wait for our schedule, and
Exactly.
they just tell us if we need to push the live stream or not.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
I think they will be coming in a few seconds, so I'll just be in the
Mm-hmm.
background. Okay.
Sure. Well, I'll let them know that you're on if they need help.
All right, that's perfect as well.
Mm-hmm. Jeanette, good to see you again.
Yes. Good
Glad to hear.
afternoon.
Mm-hmm. And hi, Selma. How are you? Ah, good to see you, Selma. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm just fine, thank you.
Great. And Joe, we want to welcome you also. Wow, what an impressive backdrop. Your background is quite impressive, Joe.
Thank you. I figured it's appropriate for this group.
Ah, very nice.
My camera's not working, so I figured we'll put something else up there for you.
That's fine. We're just glad to see you. Gonna wait just a few minutes. Hi, Sandra. Welcome. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this class. I really do need it.
Okay, may I ask why?
My writing skills are a lot better than my speaking skills.
Okay,
For some reason, I write much better than I speak, and people have a different opinion of me. I fell, but I'm okay. People have a different opinion of me once I start writing. But I really am interested in anything that you have to say that could help me.
I'm gonna make it very simple, extremely simple. And sometimes there's a couple of things. Sometimes our anxiety takes over.
Mhm.
Consequently,
That's
we're
exactly-
not able. Is that what happens with you?
It could be part of it.
And sometimes our brains operate faster than we can speak,
Bless you.
and that also causes a problem.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
We're off to a great start. I'm going to take if I'm looking down and you look, I'm taking a lot of notes.
Okay, that's fine. But I encourage you to slow down and calm down. You can be just as profound when you speak as when you write.
That's awesome.
It's the same person, just doing a different task. Okay, I'm glad to know this is what you're interested in. So we'll try to focus on answering any questions you may have.
Bless you. Thank you. I think it's going to be a great help. What else do you teach?
Well, creative writing, which you know.
Okay.
Also, there are a couple of things hopefully coming up, but I teach something called Evening Unwind, where you can disconnect from the day, some strategies to disconnect, and also stories of kindness to counterbalance all the negativity in the news. So that's, yeah, and also grant writing, trying to remember.
Great.
Okay. I want to let everybody know that we have a TA that will be with us, a technical assistant will be with us the whole time. His name is Phil. If you have any issues at all, please put it in the chat. So I'm going to get started, and then I'm going to stop and come back to you for him. Just want to get started though, because I want to hear from each of you. Okay, public speaking for every day. A class in public speaking to a few people or a crowd of people in person or on Zoom. My name is Carol and I'm your guide. And I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I'm a retired director of a family literacy center that provided academic assistance and life skills from kindergarten to college. And in the evening, I was an adjunct college professor. Education is just part of my DNA. Get Set Up helps you to learn useful skills from people like you so you can do wonderful things. We learn from each other. Ideally, we can see you and cameras are on. Request a recording after class. Email help@getsetup.io. If joining by live stream, the best way to participate is to join us and register for a class. Get Set Up is not paid to promote specific products. Okay, I want to stop here and ask your experience in public speaking or anything in particular you'd like for us to focus on. Has anyone had experience speaking publicly? You're muted though, I can't hear you. Okay.
You mean as getting up on stage and speaking that way?
You know, oftentimes you're just in a group of people and you have to stand up and say a few words. At a wedding, at a baby shower, any number of places, it's still public speaking. Okay. Anything in particular you'd like to know? I already have something from Sandra. All right, well then we'll just proceed on with the class. By the time you're finished, you'll be public speaking all over the place, asking for engagements. Okay, our agenda is very simple. What is public speaking? Steps to effective public speaking, a scenario that we build a speech together, and some tips. Okay. What is public speaking for everyday use? Everyday public speaking is simply the art of good conversation carried a step or two beyond the usual. With public speaking, the speaker can teach, entertain, inspire, or move people to action. Everyday public speaking can be adapted to fit any occasion for any targeted audience, such as baby showers, birthdays, funerals. The steps of effective public speaking are the same. It's just your demeanor or your delivery is different on each of those occasions. So now let's start. 5 easy steps to effective speaking. Number 1 is know your material. 2, know your audience. 3, the parts of the speech. You need an opening statement that grabs the attention of the audience, a middle or body, and a closing. So those are 5 steps. Now we'll go into those steps as we build a speech. Remember, when you know your material, there needs to be a connection or passion regarding your material. And that also will be a motivator to speak. So now here's our scenario. Let's write your speech. We're going to do this together. Rob and Jill and their 2 children live close to the town square. Between their home and the town square is a man-made pond, park, and children's playground. Weather permitting, on weekends, the family has picnics in the park, and almost every day, Jill takes the children to the playground. The town's officials propose to replace the park with a parking lot to generate revenue for the town. There is a town meeting on this issue, and you are scheduled to speak. What will you say? So let's just start. The first thing you're going to do, you know the issue. The issue is demoing a park so that there will be a parking lot. So now let's do some research on this. Know your material and be passionately connected to the topic. And obviously this family enjoys the park and doesn't want it demolished. So the topic is the parking lot versus the park. Know your audience and their connection to the topic. Structure your sentence with language that the audience understands. Thinking about the audience, what word would you use to connect them to the speech? So the first thing would be to know our material and be passionate about it. So what are the things I would look for as part of knowing my material, or I would share or want to be part of? Can you think about it? But if you were going to talk about it, what are the things that you would need to know?
I would need to know each of the families that attend the park currently. How large do they have areas in their home, backyard, so the children could play there? Therefore, if they're small, then they would automatically want to go someplace where there'd be a lot more room to run.
Exactly. So you want to know who's using the park. You want to know. Okay, so that's number 1. So that's something you would start with. And how many people use the park? Anything else you can think of that you'd want to know about the park? We're building a speech based on the scenario that there's a park close to your home that the town wants to, so they can put a parking lot up. And of course, your family uses the park all the time. So now,
Maintenance costs,
pardon?
maintenance costs,
Okay.
cleanup, cutting the grass, lawn, trimming the
Sure.
trees,
Okay. So
things like that.
I think
and
that's
against
excellent.
what the cost would be for maintaining the parking lot.
Okay, so we'd want to know usage and even potential uses of the parking lot, usage of the park, and then cost. Money is always a factor when dealing with towns and townships and officials. So what is the money to maintain this park versus the money maybe that they'll bring in as a parking lot, the revenue. So you're going to be looking at the money. How you would find that out is a copy of your town's budget or your city's budget. They would let you know how much is for parks or recreation, etc. So that's one of the things that you'd want to know. You want to have some background information on the subject and be passionate. Yes, Myra.
I would say as far as comparing the park to the parking lot, it wouldn't just be for little children, but the broader range, the broader usage, like families, the different age categories, what would be most beneficial for the families, and whether the end part of it would be to the advantage. If I was on the family side, which I would be, I would say comparing what you can do for fundraisers to maintain the park.
Exactly.
Therefore, that would make sense in your debate.
So to offset some of the expenses, which we'll get into a little later. But so for right now, no, it's great. This is great. You're thinking, that's good. So these are the things that you would be concerned about or have some knowledge of in order to start your speech. You would maybe some statistics, like you said, family usage. I see your hand, Jeanette. Like Thelma said, children use it.
Safety, the
Okay.
benefits of having a park versus the kids just playing.
Excellent. So safety factors. Good. Very good. How about you, Shirley? I see your hand high. Glad you're here.
Yeah, hi. I would want to know what equipment is going to go into this park. Are there going to be playground equipment? Is it going to be a splash park? Or is there going to be benches for parents and adults to sit on?
Okay. So again, expenses. But let me just do the scenario, and you'll get a different idea. I know you came in. Let me just see if I'm going to read the scenario again for everyone. Rob and Jill and their 2 children live close to the town square. Midway between their home and the town square is a man-made pond, park, and children's playground. Weather permitting, on weekends, the family has picnics in the park, and almost every day Jill takes the children to the playground. The town's officials propose to replace the park with a parking lot to generate revenue for the town. There is a town meeting on this issue, and you are scheduled to speak. So that's the scenario. And wondering now, and what we're discussing is, what would you need to start your speech? And so we've gotten some excellent answers regarding the safety of the children, regarding the families using the park. We've gotten some very good answers. And also we're looking at cost. Well, is it really that beneficial? So let's go on. So that's the first thing. You need to know your subject matter. And then you need to know your audience and their connection to the topic. Who will be at the town meeting, and what can you do, or what words can you use to connect them to it? So now at this meeting regarding demoing the park, who do you think would be at the town meeting?
The city.
Myra, and then I saw Sandra, who would be there?
The city councilman.
Exactly. And Sandra, who?
I was thinking of parents who have children, and to find out those children's ages so that you can look up developmental milestones that they need by having those gross motor activities in that park, especially if they can't do it in their yard. Exactly. How it would affect their health and well-being, and also well-being of families, just to be a community.
So I'm hearing the costs, and I'm hearing how it affects the families. Anyone else want to share?
How about somebody from Parks and Recreation of the city that knows what's going on in the park?
So that will be part of the town council or the Parks and City Recreation. So these are people that would be there. Now, the next part of it, what language would you want to use to get the parents, let's break it in 2 parts, the parents active regarding this? Particular words you want to use, you think? Get the parents, yes, Jeanette, involved?
Excuse me?
Oh, I saw your thing. So you must have hit it. Anyone want to think about words that you would use? To get parents involved, I think you want to talk about safety of their children. As Sandra mentioned, the motor skills from having the park.
Summer programs.
Yes, exactly. Hi, Steffi. Glad that you're here.
Yes, ma'am.
Programs that they could have. Yes, Sandra.
I think I might have the parents sign some kind of petition, maybe.
That's it. Your speech should have a component that lets people know what they can do or what the next step is. Because oftentimes people don't know it. So these are the things that you'd want to use regarding the parents, letting them know regarding, and also they have picnics there, the family time, where they're not able to do it. Obviously, they're close to the city. So in the words for the council people or the park people may be, what kind of things you think they're interested in?
Athletic programs.
Yes, that's great. Athletic programs, but also the council people, the people that want to demo the park are interested in money.
Yes.
The revenue. So it's about the money with them.
Mhm.
So you may want to do things to mention what is a child activities worth compared to the money you're going to spend? How many people are going to really use this parking lot? Will it change the environment of the town by having this parking lot?
Yes, no trees.
No
Killing
trees?
trees.
So you may want to have environmentalists involved in this to help solidify your argument. Also, how safe will it be for the children that strangers will be coming into the neighborhood to park? These are safety issues that parents would really be concerned about. And then you may want to compare a child's safety as opposed to some revenue and look at how much revenue would it really generate anyway in our town. So these are the things that you would think about in order to have a persuasive speech. Any comments before we go on? Are you seeing, you know your audience? 1 second, Myra, let me just recap. You know your audience. You know first the subject and then your audience. And then you want to start to connect them. Now, go ahead, Myra, I saw your hand, and then Steffi, I saw yours after.
And ensuring them the health and wellness of families is a very good point to make towards them.
Exactly. Excellent. And you, Steffi?
Yes, I was going to say basically the same thing. Children need physical, mental, and emotional activities to keep them on their developmental stage. So if they take away their ability to play, it can bring on depression. It can bring on other negative things. It can bring on children being enticed to go to places where they shouldn't go and to do things they shouldn't do. The park is, as we said, is a safe place. And here in Los Angeles, what they do also, if they want to save money, it costs too much. Each 12th grader has to volunteer. So that's a good place. They can volunteer by tutoring, by cleaning up, because that's a part of their graduation requirements.
Oh, that's excellent. Some community service. That's excellent. Yes, ma'am. And it's interesting for you. I know that you were a physical education teacher for many years. So
yes, ma'am.
No, as Sandra was mentioning regarding the gross motor skills. Well, okay, any other comments before we go on? So now we know our material, we know the audience, and we know some key phrases or target phrases that we're going to use to have the audience become passionate about what we're saying about our speech. Like I said, it will be 5 very simple steps. So that was step 1, kind of, doing some background. Please mute your mics until you speak. So then the next thing you want to do, now that you've kind of have an idea of who's going to be there, your material, some keywords, you want to get an opening statement that's a grabber. The opening statement should get the audience's attention and allow the audience to see your personal connection to the topic. Example, a personal story. Maybe Rob or Jill could tell how they got engaged in the park. A quote from an expert or shocking statistic. It should hook and open the minds of the audience. What words would you use? What examples of opening statements for this particular scenario? How would you open it up?
What do you mean you want to put a parking lot in?
I like that. Well, that's certainly definite and direct and will get their attention. Anyone else want to share some words for an opening statement to grab the audience's attention? Yes, Miss Steffi.
May I please ask each and every one of you who are sitting on this board, how many of you were raised in a community where you participated in the activities given at the park each week? How many of you learned how to play soccer, softball, basketball, gymnastics at the park? And what benefits did you receive, and how do you think our children will miss out on these same benefits that you were given the right to have?
That's perfect, because you're actually, yeah, that's good. You're actually making it personal. You're bringing it home to them. So that's very good. Ariane, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Is that it, Ariane? I saw your hand, I think.
It's Charles. It's Charles.
Charles?
Yeah, I logged in on the Ariane.
Okay.
I would just use my own personal story. I believe, for example, that particular situation is unique in Camden, Arkansas, where I learned how to be a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, and Eagle Scout right at the park. And I would use that as a personal statement to help build the character and the type of young man I became and man I am today. Excellent.
Charles, that is certainly excellent. And probably you would know people on the council where you to remember that's excellent. That will certainly get their attention. Anyone else want to comment? So you have an opening statement that's got their attention. My opening statement, you will all be speechwriters by the end of the class. Get your attention. If nothing more than controversy. So let's go on. So now to recap, we are now at the point where we have an opening statement. And also that statement is causing the audience not only to listen, but to become involved or passionate about whatever it is we're sharing. You need a middle or a body of the speech. As you begin to prepare the speech, the body of your speech, ask yourself these 3 questions. What is the subject? Not the title of your speech, because you could have a title that's a little bit different than the actual subject. What particular points? Not more than 4. The less is better. People's attention spans are just not that long. Do you want to bring out? And why are these points directed at this audience? So now let's look at our body. We're going to kind of put that together. In what particular points would we want to put out as we have our speech? We'd want to share. What are some of the points? Excuse me?
The benefit and advantages of the park. I don't know if you wanted to be more specific as far as.
No, that's it.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
And you can be specific if you have some. I think like Charles mentioned, Steffi mentioned some of the benefits. So that's some of the points that you want to have in what you're saying. And Sandra, I hope you're catching this in terms of just slowly speaking these things so you don't let the anxiety. And one of the things that's good, when you are prepared, when you're passionate about something, it just flows. So, all right, so that's the points. We've kind of gone over some of the points that you could put together. Anyone have anything else to say?
How about saying that this is not only going to affect our children now, but their children, and the park's going to be there many years, so there's going to be grandchildren that are going to benefit.
Is it worth destroying the legacy of the town for this parking lot?
Yeah.
Earlier, that's the point. You want to bring in the strangers that may come in the neighborhood because of the parking lot. So the safety of not only the children, but of your families. You may want to bring in environmentalists. What is that going to do to the town with all the parking and the emissions? And so the environmental aspect of it is a very strong one. Okay, Any other comments? But these are the points for this particular scenario, and there are more. Okay. So now we have an idea of our points and we've put them down. So arrange all this material in order for presentation. Your original points, each with supporting material, meaning it affects the environment. And you have supporting material, how car emissions are bad for the health, or your children need to maintain their gross motor skills, or need to exercise. So that's your point. And then you have supporting material. You may want to look at some studies in your library that will support what you're saying. You may want to look if the town has ever done this before that may not have been successful, or, so you need to have some supporting material. And I think it was excellent what Charles poured out regarding a personal experience. That is supporting documentation. Can't get any better than, something that you experienced along with other town people. The legacy aspect, there are just a number of things, but you have your points and some supporting material. Must be arranged in logical sequence. As you want to hit each pointer, one should follow or flow in another. This discussion of each point should lead naturally to the next point. As you write the body, also write down any arguments that oppose your speech points. So at that point, you're preparing a rebuttal, and that also gives you confidence when you have anticipated what people may say. So now let's look at we've got a lot of points that we're emphasizing. What could be some of the rebuttal points? What could be some of the things people will say against keeping the park? I want the park to stay, or Rob and Jill wants the park. So what are some of the points that maybe the town council will try to address that why the park should go?
Like you said earlier.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I saw Myra and then Steffi. After Myra, yes.
You said some of the stuff that they wanted to generate money, to raise funding also through the parking. So we would have to rebut it with, we could come up with different annual events that could generate money for maintenance, as well as fund the city.
That's excellent. And you mentioned that before. Maybe the parking won't generate as much as they think it's going to generate. Steffi, you had a comment?
No, I was in agreement with the lady just spoke.
Okay, so then, but some of the rebuttal will be that they need the money, but how much money will they really get from this parking lot? A rebuttal may be that they want the town to progress and they want to be more industrial with parking lots and those kinds of things. But again, you can go back to family legacy and how you would prefer, most people do, not to have the car admissions, to have strangers in the neighborhood, the safety of the children, etc. So those are you would be firm in how they may rebut you or what they're going to say negative about what you are saying. You may want to look at environmental studies and bring that in as far as health issues are concerned for everyone in the community. Okay, any questions? Am I making it clear? And when you have this information, you can feel quite confident about your speech. Any comments or anything that anyone wants to share? Okay. So now we have reached a point where we're in the middle of our speech. We have our rebuttal points for those folks that are going to oppose what we're saying. And so now the next thing we need to do is come up with a conclusion. This is really the fifth part of the speech. You've had your beginning was getting the information. The second was getting a grabber, and then you got the middle of your speech and putting everything in order. Now this is the fifth step, which is a conclusion. A good conclusion might be a summary of what has been said, because other people may speak before you. So you may want to include that in what you said. A challenge to action. This is what we need to do. And I think Myra pointed out a very good issue, such as let's fundraise. If the township needs the money, let's do some other activities in the park to generate the funding that we need, and to call attention to our town. An appeal for further consideration, in other words, asking the committee to stay from doing anything, to just sort of take a moratorium, just, don't start demolishing. Let's just reconsider this at another point. An illustration to emphasize the main points, or any combination of the above. And as I said, you may want to bring an environmentalist in and ask them to stay off until you get a study of what this is going to do to the community. After you decide on the conclusion, make sure the ending is a strong, positive statement. Don't weaken the climax with more words. So the climax is your end, and that should be a dramatic end that hits with the punch. Now, why do you think it's necessary to end on a high note and not to just kind of go on? Some people say, and finally, and then they go on for another half hour.
Well, I believe people's attention span is not that long. If a person is interested in a particular subject matter, you got their attention. Nevertheless, our attention spans are not that long. Say what you got to say, boom, get out of there.
Yeah, I think that's excellent, Charles. And you want what you have spoken about to kind of linger in their minds. If you go off on another road, it becomes muddled. So end on a high point, and whatever is your most effective point. Any comments before we go on?
After I heard him talk about his point, I was thinking too, because I'm a retired teacher too, and I'm thinking about his learning style. And I'm very linguistic, and I have a tendency to go on and on and on. And that probably would just drive him crazy, because he sounds like he's real logical. And so people just want to really get turned off and just get out of there if I keep going on and on.
And this also may attribute to your nervousness. By going on and on, you know that you're losing the audience, but you don't know how to get them back in. And so that's the other thing. And also, oftentimes when we go on, we get lost in our points and what we're trying to say, etc. And it doesn't make it a positive experience. Any other comments?
Well, just another comment. My background is in the Air Force as a veteran, and I would always be called to do impromptu, how do you describe it for this audience? Impromptu retirement briefings. My portion of it would consist of informing the audience what their retirement benefits consisted of in terms of storing and moving household goods and your personal items. So I'm a book person and not a technology person. And this class has already helped me out already.
I'm glad.
You've already helped me out. So I knew the material in general, and what I found out that this class has helped me on. Research is just my second nature. I just love to do that. And so, but I talk too long. That's my weakness. I love the subject and I talk too long. And I'm learning from you today and from my close friend is say what you got to say and boom, get on out of there. And I appreciate that.
Well, a couple of things you can do to help with that is have a watch on the podium, so that even though the audience may not know, but you're looking at the watch and knowing how many. I see your hand, Shirley, and knowing how long you're speaking now, and you've given yourself 2 minutes, although 3 minutes have been allocated to you, but 2 minutes, and that way it gives you a little time to add a little more, or people may laugh or comments. So occasionally glance down at your watch. You could also have somebody in the audience to kind of nod or give you a signal that you're getting a little long-winded. You can have them just merely put their hand up, or an insignificant kind of gesture, not stand up and say, get off the podium, but just a way of letting you know that you've gone past your time. That's another thing you can do, is have somebody kind of monitor you. And that should be helpful to you, Charles, if you think you're going on and on and on. Shirley, I saw your hand.
Are you familiar with Toastmasters in the States?
Yes.
Okay. We have it up here too, and I'm a bronze Toastmaster, and they tell us that you lose your audience within about 6 to 7 minutes. They start thinking about what they got to do tomorrow, what they got to do when they finished after this meeting, and their minds just wander after that time. And the fellow there, he brought up the situation of knowing what you're going to say for sure.
I think that's excellent. And sometimes we lose our places as we're giving a speech. So and I encourage you, if you need cue cards, make sure your cards are stapled together or somehow connected together where they can't go flying off the podium. If you notice people that speak even in Congress, it's usually in a book and they're flipping the pages. You have to really be skillful to have your pages not connected, because sometimes if you don't speak all the time, you get somewhat nervous. So make sure that your pages won't go flying off the podium, and commit a lot of your speech to your memory, so you're not relying so much on your notes. And there are times, and I've experienced this, where all of a sudden I couldn't read my notes. And I actually said out loud, "Who wrote this?" And the audience heard and started to laugh, because I had written it, but I was so nervous that I really couldn't see it or understand it. So that can happen too. So have your speech kind of committed. Any other comments before we go on? Comments have been excellent. So let's go on. And I'm glad to hear you're a bronze Toastmistress, Shirley. Is that what it's called?
Yes, ma'am.
Bronze, that's excellent. And you're in Canada, so that's excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so now there's a couple of things that I want to just recap with you, and then I'm going to have another part that I want to share. And that is, we've gone through 5 easy steps. And that first is the research. Know your material. Research under knowing your audience. Know who they are and the words that will connect them to your speech. You have to have an opening statement that kind of grabs their attention. I've seen people drop a book or in some way make a loud noise that kind of jolts people into what's going on. Also have a middle or body, and then a closing statement. So those are 5 easy steps, if you can remember that. And these steps are appropriate, whether you're doing a baby shower, you know the material. And let's try this before we go. We have a little bit of time. Okay, let's say we're gonna have a baby shower. Is a baby shower okay with or birthday party? It's my birthday, it's my birthday. Okay, I'm wondering if somebody would kind of have a little speech about my birthday using some of those things. From what you know about me and who's my audience, you're all part of my birthday party. So now let's develop a speech with that. What would be your opening statement? Because oftentimes as elders, we are called upon to say a few words. So it doesn't take long. Go ahead, Miss Steffi.
I am so glad that everyone came today to share Miss Carol's birthday. She's so kind, she's so sharing and considerate of each and every one of us. And we just want her to have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful birthday party. Okay. So after I get through speaking, I would like someone else to come up and give a few pointers of how they met Miss Carol and why she's so important to our lives.
Well, that's
Thank you
nice.
for coming to the birthday party.
That's very nice. And what I like about it, it's just inclusive. You're bringing other people up to share. So that's something you can do. You can include other people in what you're saying you're doing. And, of course, let the person know, well, birthday parties may be impromptu, but let them know if you're a little bit leery about being on the stage for, as Shirley would mention, 6, 7 minutes or 3 minutes, then you could do a portion of your speech and ask somebody else to do the other part of the speech. So birthday, as Miss Steffi said, you could, talk about the person. You can talk about your experiences with the person, which is what Charles did regarding the park, saying his experience, etc. So you're actually delivering a speech to more than one person. So I want to encourage you to think of speech writing in 5 things: knowing your material, knowing your audience, have a grabber to open it up, a middle, and then goodbye, you're off the stage. Very simple. And if you have to, bring a partner in to share part of that with you. So I want to go on now. Any comments before we go on? Is it kind of clear now? It's a little bit more simple. It's not that difficult. You all have the ability to do it. And you do it every day with your friends. You're talking to your friends every day and sharing. You just don't have the size audience. Okay, here are some tips. Acknowledge the people who invited you or who are leading the meeting and the audience by thanking them for interest in the subject. Steffi illustrated that by thanking everybody for being there. Again, your demeanor should be according to whatever the subject is. Speak with an intent to move people to action. That's what speech writing is about. It's to garner support for something, to get people to move into action. Know and mention what you want your audience to do immediately after hearing the speech. Oftentimes people are excited about what you're speaking about or your cause, but they don't know what to do. So let them know, as somebody mentioned earlier, we'll be signing petitions in the hallway, or we'll be meeting again on Thursday concerning this, or have an environmentalist coming to town, let's meet about it. So you need to include something for the audience to do who have been participants or who have been listeners in your speech. And this is key. If nobody does anything different than they would have done before your speech, it may not have been effective. Even when people ask questions, at least they're thinking about your topic. I was thinking about Charles and military families and their materials. Even if they can't immediately do something, you may get a bevy of questions. And that lets you know that they're hearing you. But your speech needs to be effective, and people need to do something different than they would have done before. Reconsider, and if that's the case where people are not somehow moved or touched, reconsider how to rework your speech for the next audience who were interested in, well, this case it says the bus route, but in not eliminating the park is what it really should be. Okay.
Got a question?
Yeah, sure.
Oftentimes I'm called to be Sunday school teacher when the normal speaker doesn't show up for some reason. And so it's important to me to know the audience.
Absolutely.
Now, at my particular church, there's a mixed bag in this respect. There's the highly educated, but then there's also the uneducated. I just have to tell the truth. So the objective for me always is to find a balance.
Exactly.
And the way I do this is by audience participation.
Yes, this was just thinking.
I come in with the presumption that nobody has studied or read the Sunday school lesson.
Okay.
And so I normally would have a real good reader to read certain verses of the lesson.
Excellent.
And explain what they just read to a person I'm already familiar with based on our interaction with one another.
Sure.
That their educational limitations at that point. And it seems to work. It seems to work.
It is working.
Nobody's offended, taking offense.
Yeah, it would work because you have class participation. And I think it's great what you're saying, but I'm going to suggest another way.
Okay.
That you know that are what you're doing is great. but sometimes it's nice to change up as a teacher. And for those that you know that can read well, give them the scriptures from the lesson. There may be 4 or 5 scriptures from that lesson that day. So you'll ask them at the beginning of the class, or even beforehand, if you're talking with them, to make sure that they are familiar with the scriptures and have it marked in their book so that they can read it. The people who have the life experience, who may not have the educational experience,
Yes.
them to help to share examples of it.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
See what I'm saying? So you're including them because there are a lot of people that have excellent life experience. And
Yes.
anything, if you're a teacher, you want your students to apply the word. It's like a medicine. If they don't know how to apply it, what good is it? So that's what I would do. And I would let those people that may not be as educated know, Leon, I'm going to be calling on you today because our subject is, I don't know, X, whatever it is. And I know you know a lot about that.
Okay, I give you one quick, one quick example of what you just said that is fruitful. This senior citizen, I'm 69 years old, but this senior citizen's 92 years old, told me, she says, Mr. Johnson, I enjoy coming to your Sunday school class because I always.
Oh, you went out. I'm sorry, you went out, Charles. Oh, wow, we've lost your audio. Sorry. Okay, so that's.
Okay, are you still there?
Yeah, we're back. Now finish with the
90-year-old lady told me, she says she always learns something when she comes to the class. And I was so embarrassed. I'm telling you, men get embarrassed. And she embarrassed me. I was not expecting it in that manner from her. So I could only think of a joke. I says, don't you remember when we used to play marbles when we was kids and used to beat me all the time? And she thought of it. She said, you're not 90. And it stopped me from being embarrassed and gave me a chance to catch my breath. And B, it made the rest of the audience think of a reason why they come. Because I'm the type of person, I gotta be able to answer the question for me personally, why am I here?
Exactly. Okay. A couple of things I'm hearing in this. One, you're saying the message and the messenger must agree. So that means even, thinking about Shirley being a Toastmistress, she can then talk about giving a speech because she's done it. So one of the things you're saying, Charles, is that you've had the experience. The other thing is, at those times, and this may be good for you, Sandra, you brought up another point, Charles, is people may question you, or that's another way you can interact with the audience as far as throwing out questions. But you can take a minute to say, take a sip of water while you're retooling your thoughts. You don't have to jump in right away. You could say, well, let me have a second here to think about that.
Okay.
And so these are the little tricks that you can do to allow you some time to answer. And also, there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know the answer.
Right.
But I will research it for you. And that gives you a connection to, you're showing vulnerability and humanness to your audience. So it sounds like an excellent class, Charles. It really sounds very good. Sounds like you're doing some great things. And I want to encourage you when someone compliments you, and this is something I had to learn, I'm not there yet, just say thank you.
I'm not there yet. I agree.
But I encourage you to get there, because sometimes it diffuses what they're saying to you, positivity, when you start going on with something else, or but just a thank you is sufficient. Remember, you are modeling at all points in times when you're a teacher, you're modeling behavior for your students.
Okay.
With the adults, but again, you're modeling behavior. Okay, there's a little bit more to our session. Any other comments or any questions? Okay, so the last thing they're going to focus on is, you've delivered your speech, and now what are you going to do? Key is also to have other possibilities. I thought Ira was really great about having events in the park to generate funds. You need to think about, are there other venues or other places you need to go with your speech to impassion the people? You need to look at, community involvement. Could you put it in your local newspaper, what the town wants to do, or do it editorial regarding it? And what else do you think can be done? You're giving your speech and you want to generate the interest of other people to, make sure this park isn't closed. Yes, Miss Steffi.
We can go door to door.
That's excellent.
And we can involve the children to go door to door with us. That's
is
really a good impact.
Yes, that's really excellent. So door to door, letting people know what's happening in their community. Anyone else have anything else you can do after your speech?
They have a neighborhood.
Okay, 1 minute. Go ahead. Yes, Myra.
They have a neighborhood where we can go in on the computer, and that let us know through that too.
Exactly. So you're saying social media is a way of making sure people know what's happening and asking them to join forces. That's excellent. Social media. Miss Steffi, I saw your hand again.
Yes, you can, if you have a news network in your town, see if you can get some of their time or have somebody talk about it.
Exactly. I think that's excellent. Yes. Further assistance, email us. Okay, we're getting close to our time. Phil is reminding you, if you want a recording of this session or further assistance, all you have to do is go to help@getsetup.io. So I think we've answered most of your questions concerning all of this. Do you have any other questions concerning your speech writing? How about you, Sandra? You're a little less anxious about it?
I think that this class has helped me a whole lot, because I also help with church groups at night. And I think, sometimes I can't always prepare, but if we do have a text, I can definitely do that. And I thought it was amazing how you caught like instantly what my issues were. And that's exactly what it was. Slow down, have the confidence, research ahead of time. And because you're very confident in your subject. And that is something I can definitely work on. So like tonight I have a book club. So I'm going to use everything that you gave us, those 5 steps. And I'm going to, sometimes I'll just, I don't lead the book club. So, sometimes I will, just come and not even read ahead of time, because we usually will go along and comment as we go. It's more of a self-help kind of thing. But for tonight, I'm going to read as far as I think they'll be reading, and also put a few notes on index cards. I'm not going to seem like the sage on the stage, but I'm going to be prepared.
Well, that's great.
You helped me a lot. You really did.
Good. Well, Barbara, not Barbara, I'm saying Sandra, do you realize that you just spoke in front of 10 people? You gave a speech. Do you realize?
Thank you.
I mean, you spoke for about how many? 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
A little bit too long.
On the contrary, no, we have the time, always have the time. So you realize that you did that, and people are, I think she deserves a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Everybody, let's give her a hand. You spoke, you hadn't thought about it, and you just did it, and you did it well.
Thanks.
And what I liked is you even including action steps. You're going to read ahead of time. You're going to put them on index cards. So you really embraced what was shared today, and you have action steps of what you're going to do about it.
Thank you. I'll be a valued member tonight.
I know that you will, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow. Anyone else have any comments? I told you by the end of this class, you'll be out with speech writing. I'll be looking for you on national television. Good. I'm glad it's helped you. Can I read this out loud? We have a few minutes. It says, Myra says it's helped her with her church work. So I'm glad. Any other comments before we close out? I know you have other classes to attend, so I want to be mindful of your time. Okay, I want to thank you. I have thoroughly enjoyed each one of you, and especially Sandra's speech. And Get Set wants to also thank you. Share your experiences, #GetSetUp, @GetSetUp, or Liz at Get Set Up. And Liz is a real person. Related classes, Zoom, for virtual backgrounds in case you want to have an impressive background when you speak, using PowerPoint for powerful presentations. My next class will be creative writing, stories of classes or creative writing, stories of kindness, evening unwind, and tips for grant writing. The marvelous thing now is that you'll get class notes. I'll send some class notes to you. And they'll also include some suggested classes, as well as we need your feedback. Get Set Up operates on your feedback because we want to meet your needs as far as your classes. So if there are any suggestions you have for additional classes or just comments, give us feedback, please. That is how we grow and how we learn, with your feedback. Tell a buddy. It's marvelous on the site now. Invite a friend. When you book your class, you can also invite a friend, which is a great thing to do. It's nice to have classes with a friend. So we're encouraging you to do that. And there's also a mobile app now. The Get Set Up community, spread the word about learning with Get Set Up. Come host an interest group. Just let us know. Suggest a class you would like to see on Get Set Up. We partner with assisted care, senior living, government and community organizations. Request session recordings and share ideas for new classes that help it get set up. I don't know if you have difficulties navigating our site. If so, I believe our technician is still here. Yes, Phil is still with us. Can answer any questions. So are there anyone who has difficulties navigating the site? You're all veterans, you know, doing this a while. Good.
Yes.
Jeanette, I do see. And then Myra, yes, how can I help you?
Oh, what did I touch?
Oh, okay, not a problem. Okay, and thank you so much, Myra, it's nice. Thelma, are you okay? Did you get what you needed? Okay, good, I'm so glad, I'm so glad. All right, I'm gonna have to close the class out now, but it's fun. Like my last class, I'll give you the Queen's wave. Anyway, have a terrific evening, all of you. Just